Well, it wasn't pretty, but a win is certainly a win in the playoffs, and the Philadelphia Eagles are moving on to the divisional round after a 22-10 win over the Green Bay Packers. The Locked On Eagles postgame show coming your way.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into the Locked On Eagles postgame show. Thanks so much for making us your first listen and watch each and every day. We are brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers, you can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win or lose your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. The Philadelphia Eagles, they're staying alive for another week. 22-10, the final score over the Green Bay Packers. And again, this was not pretty. Reminded me a lot of that 2017 divisional round playoff win over the Atlanta Falcons. But again, like I said, a win certainly is a win in the playoffs, Gino. And I think although it's obvious that Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore specifically need to be better if this team wants to win a championship, and that was definitely an alarming part of this game, at the same time, I kind of like that their first playoff game had to be a rock fight, a physical battle where your defense won it, because the defense is the inexperienced unit that I love that they carried you, especially Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. Like that 3rd and 3 stop from Carter that eventually forced the game-winning turnover, and Nolan Smith's 2 sacks today. I was wondering who was going to be that go-to guy in the postseason without Hassan Riddick. Nolan Smith was that guy. This defense set the tone from the start, and I do think that kind of win can really help you in the playoffs where things are just more intense. So that part of this game, I was so encouraged by.
There's been one consistent thing that I've said a few times over the last 17, 18 weeks or so, and it's that this defense is going to be the reason they would win a Super Bowl.
Isn't that unbelievable considering where we were at the start of the year with how young this team was and how new it was? I cannot believe they carried this into the playoffs.
One of the things in football is that coaching and getting the guys in the right scheme, when it all goes well, it turns into the most beautiful piece of choreography. And even when an Nakobe Dean goes out, which that's tough, man. I mean, after a huge season, or
he was amazing today, Gino. I thought,
he
looked so
the blitz,
good in the first half.
Getting downhill, like he's physical, like he does all season long, and he goes down. That's tough. But the young guys, once again, Lou, celebrate your boy,
the curse is over.
Quinyon Mitchell, getting number one. Number one, he was going to get one, and that was number 3 of the day for Jordan Love. And we talked one of the last times, I know it's been a bit, we've been, Lou on vacation, me down at CGS, but we're back here. One of the last times we talked, Lou, right when I think we found out about the Green Bay game.
Yeah.
We talked about how we were going to attack this and how would you like them to attack it. And you mentioned you kind of want to get into the game plan of the A.J. Brown and the Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
I kept saying, I think it starts with Saquon Barkley. And I texted multiple people, my cousins, my friends that are all Packer fans, and I said, it's either going to be the Wild Wild West and there's going to be 1 billion points scored, or it is going to be an absolute pick up rocks, ground and pound. It might not pop for an explosive run, but you got to be tougher, longer. And the Eagles, once again, Lou, they played clean football and took care of the ball. They took the ball away. They got pressure on Jordan Love. The couple sacks that Jalen Hurts got into, him holding on to the ball too long, those sacks on Jordan Love, that's Nolan Smith coming into his own and being the player that they drafted last year because he's in a Fangio scheme.
I can't believe how good Nolan Smith has looked. I mean, he was, I think, the best player on the field today. I mean, every single play.
You have an argument for him, without a doubt, Lou.
Yeah, 2 sacks, 4 pressures, was amazing against the run. Again, I thought Jalen Carter, I said before the game, I want this to be one of those games where Jalen Carter shows I'm a future Hall of Fame talent. And when it mattered most, I thought he did that. But Nolan Smith specifically was everywhere. And I like that you mentioned the physicality part. I love how tough and physical they, from the jump, looked. Like Oren Burks, the first play of the game, pops out the ball on a forced fumble on the kick return. That's why I'm saying, obviously, the offense, especially like Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore today, I was not happy with that performance. It needs to be better if you're going to beat a team like the Lions eventually, or heck, if you get to the Super Bowl and you got to play a Pat Mahomes or a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson.
Of course.
But I like that in the postseason when things get, again, the space gets tighter, things get tougher, that you were the tougher team and you were dictating terms. You were being the hunter, the bully, because that's not what you looked like last year in the postseason. So I thought that was just from all three levels, the secondary, the linebackers, the defensive line, that is who this team was today. And I think that's a really important kind of win in the postseason.
You can get nitpicky with Jalen Hurts for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to even say
throw a little bit.
I think he was bad today. I think that's fair to say.
Absolutely. After that first drive, it went downhill quickly. He definitely hasn't played in a couple weeks. Kellen Moore is my bigger concern. This has been a consistent thing, and I think the A.J. Brown sideline thing is like, it's not, I don't think we need to start drama
what'd you
about
think
it,
of
but
that? What'd you think about the book?
It's going to be the greatest meme of all time. I
know, and again,
it's
I don't think he
unbelievable.
was doing it with any malice, but don't, A.J. Brown, I never want you to get mad again when people run with certain headlines, because you're just, like, it's a funny meme, but come on, man, you're reading a book when you have one catch for 10 yards. Like, read the room. I don't know. I mean, ridiculous.
But at the end, when Saquon gets his first
was
win,
unbelievable today.
and he's,
oh my gosh,
and he's going nuts. A.J. Brown was right on
Saquon,
his shoulder,
by the way, another
living it
meme
up.
Today. There was multiple memes from this game. Saquon pointing to the
The
first
greatest
down.
Eagle meme game of
It
all
might be
time,
the most
arguably.
meme-filled playoff game I've ever seen. Yeah.
Just what really good individual performances, though, man.
There's so
Darius Slay, his entire career, and it's one of those quirks. It's like Kirk Cousins in prime time, Darius Slay against Green Bay. He's been in situations against the Green Bay Packers that were less than fortuitous. Today, that's why he is the player he is. That interception he had,
he ran the route for Wicks. It was just perfect.
That is stuff you cannot teach that, man. That is natural, inherent ability, and it was him just continuing off of a bad season last year because of injuries, ups and downs, solidifying that one side. While the young bull on the other side, Quinyon Mitchell, is balling
How
out.
How cool is it that he got his first pick in the playoffs to seal the win? I mean, that's just...
On a day that so does Darius Slay,
yeah,
who he said was his eye. I mean, talk about a story in football,
so
man.
Cool.
I mean, you can't write that.
And Q, by the way, Gino, too, like I thought another drive where they missed the field goal in the red zone, he gave up a bad DPI call and then two perfect coverage reps right after, back-to-back forced incompletions.
Yeah, he recovered really well.
Like
Doesn't
the young
stay
guys
in his
today,
head at all, man.
Exactly. When the young guys made a mistake today, even Cooper DeJean a couple times, they bounced right back. Like,
yes.
I was... Again,
they got dogs. They got guys that are like, I didn't get that one. I'm going to the next one. On to the next one. It was every play that the offense is one thing, and we're definitely going to talk about the offensive performance, right? And I think it has to do more with the game plan than anything, and we'll talk about the rust, and we could go into the tape and all that as we continue to look at it. But the game plan to have known that the goal before the season was to host multiple playoff games at home. And why would you want to host multiple playoff games at home in Philadelphia specifically? Let's go back years. How many times is it brick cold? I mean, you go back to the Atlanta game and like all these games throughout the playoffs where it's just being tougher in a gritty environment where there might be superstars on the other side that might make plays, but we're not going to make the explosive mistakes. We're not going to allow them to have these deep shots. 10 points
and
allowed.
You're the youngest
once
defense
again
in football. Like that's what I want to keep highlighting. They're doing this as the youngest unit.
They
Most
look like
of
a
these guys
veteran
haven't been
sound
here.
defense. Exactly, man. That's the point you have to continue to harp on, is that the defense looks so fantastic, and defense wins championships. If a defense holds a team to 10 points, yes, it's a banged-up Packer team. Yes, Jordan Love helped you out a bit. Yes, the first play of the game, special teams, why we harp on it and harp on it and harp on it, you still were the tougher, better team.
And
when
they
you
still
go
had
back
a
and
ton
look
of
at the
talent.
tape.
Like Green Bay had a ton of guys out there where it doesn't negate the defensive performance.
Jaden Reed was making plays. That Josh Jacob run is,
Jacobs was incredible today.
That's a top 10 run of the season, in my opinion, man.
But again,
they threw their shots, but the Eagles threw harder shots back at them, sure.
And when you get 3 turnovers from the defense, a 4th from special teams, like that is a recipe where if the offense
they weren't letting the Atlanta thing happen again. I got that feeling a little. Did you get that?
Too.
You got that feeling?
That's why the minute the show started, I'm like, this game reminded me so much of the first game in 2017 against Atlanta. But I think that's a good first test. Like, you kind of want to get that game under your belt. The offense, obviously, you need to take advantage of these turnovers. They had 0 points from that pick. Zack Baun, an amazing game today, had to take over play calling too when Nakobe Dean went down. His pick, he read Jordan Love to a T. I mean, Vic Fangio was using him everywhere today on the edge.
What a player, dude.
So, I mean, this defense, to have that kind of performance, again, the offense needs to take advantage of it, but I love that for 4 quarters they were saying, we've got you, like, we're going to win this. I mean, how many red zone stops? I thought, here comes the touchdown that flips the field, that flips the game. They hold them to a field goal attempt, or they get a turnover. I was just so impressed. So, yeah, we're going to get into the passing game problems and how the offense can be better. But like,
Can I say one more thing on the run game, Lou?
No, of course, yeah.
I think it's going to be a really cool exercise when you can get the all-22 and look at the tape from this game and then go back to look at when they were playing in the Southern Hemisphere and how different that defense has just been molded by Vic Fangio in a matter of 4 months. They've become grown men in the blink of an eye, and not just guys that are like legitimate good football. Like, we didn't even talk about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson having one of his, ball hawk type of picks.
Milton Williams was consistently in the backfield today.
Dude, every single player on defense made a play where you're like, yep, you contributed to the ball game, and you did it in the best way possible.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it shouldn't surprise you, though, even though they're the youngest defense in football, Nolan Smith was on a team that won back-to-back national championships. So did Jordan Davis. So did Jalen Carter. So did Nakobe Dean.
Keep it simple, stupid. Just draft the guys that play at good football schools and big games. Yep.
It really doesn't surprise me, even though they're inexperienced, and a lot of these guys have been role players for playoff teams in the past or haven't been here at all, that they did this, because this is the makeup, the blueprint of this defense. And I think the identity of this football team is they're the hunters right now, and they're going to be the tougher team for 4 quarters. On offense, though, things have to be better if you want to move on to the third round, the NFC Championship, potentially the Super Bowl. We'll get into that and more as we continue to recap the Eagles' first playoff win of the year, 22-10 over the Green Bay Packers. Locked on Eagles. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This episode of Locked On Eagles is brought to you by LinkedIn. Growing your small business in 2025, it comes down to how well you can hire. And let's face it, better hires start with smarter insights. That's where LinkedIn comes in. With the strongest hiring data available, LinkedIn helps you identify the right candidates, giving you the confidence to make the best decisions for your business. I've used LinkedIn Jobs myself. I was a sports director at a radio station. I can tell you it's a game changer when it comes to hiring the right fit. Small businesses, they're wearing a lot of hats, so every hire is crucial. LinkedIn gets that. That's why they connect you with the best candidates using data you won't find anywhere else. From unique skills and interests to the connections you share, LinkedIn helps you find the right person for the job. In fact, 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn has helped them find high-quality candidates. Hire smarter this year and find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they do apply.
This episode of LOE is also brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. It's playoff time. We're celebrating an Eagles victory in the wild card round, which feels like the first time in about a decade. And if you're like me and you want to make the most of these final weeks of football action before we hit February and the Super Bowl is here, well, you have to get in on the action over at Prize Picks. All you do, you say, does this player have more or less on player stats like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns? Saquon Barkley shout out. For a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money, you can make picks in less than 60 seconds. And with the flex pay, you can get a payout very quickly. And here's a special offer today for our Locked On NFL and Locked On Eagles listeners. Download the app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Prize Picks. Run your game.
The Philadelphia Eagles stay alive in the playoffs, 22-10 the final score over the Green Bay Packers. They are moving on to the divisional round. It will be yet again at Lincoln Financial Field. Who they play, we'll see. It's between Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, and Minnesota. Of course, tonight's game is the Buccaneers-Commanders, right? And then we got Vikings-Rams Monday night. So if the Commanders beat the Bucs, then the Eagles will play the winner of tomorrow's game, the Vikings and the Rams. If Tampa Bay wins, then we get a little rematch or revenge game at the Link next week. Well, I kind of want, Gino, from a heart perspective.
I was thinking that too. It's like, let's do it again. Like, let's
bring them to our field.
Yeah.
I kind of want it really.
A home and home.
Actually.
We need a home and home because we got to go back there next year. They already set the schedule out. No, we got to.
I'm kind of rooting for Tampa tonight over Washington, but. Overall, today, I think it was a good first test. The defense, just unbelievable. In the first half, they allowed 0 points for Green Bay, 3.4 yards per play. They had 2 interceptions. The problem was, Gino, the offense started hot. Jalen Hurts was 6 for 6. That awesome passing touchdown to Jahan Dotson, where the offensive line gave him, 7 seconds in the pocket to score, which was
felt like he was just
unbelievable.
Going out for a jog, and he could do whatever he wanted. So that was crazy.
He was locked in, but then after that, he was 0 for 7. He took 2 sacks. I thought Jalen, again, some of it was rust, and we'll get into Kellen Moore's side of this, but for Jalen, I don't want to excuse him because in 2 straight playoff games now, last year against Tampa Bay and this year against Green Bay, simulated pressures, disguised looks have really given him issues. And yes, the play caller, you have to do a better job of helping Jalen get out of those situations, but this does continue to be a problem for Hurts where he needs to keep his eyes up. And I thought that was something today. He did not handle pressure well. He only had 39 passing yards in the first half. And again, I think he will be better next round when he's got this game under his belt, but you can't have that kind of quarterback play if you're going to win a championship. As good as the run game and the defense was, like Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts, they have to be better next week.
Before I talk about what happened tonight, let's take a trip back real quick. There's a season in Eagles history, the only season they won a Super Bowl, let's say. What was that first game in the playoffs, Lou? Who did they play?
You talking about 2017?
Yes, who did they play?
The Atlanta game.
What were the conversations that were being had after those games?
But that's Nick Foles, a backup quarterback. I do not want to use that for Jalen.
Funny how things work out if we just relax. Yes.
I agree. Nick Foles finished the next performance as one of the best playoff games I've ever seen. So.
It's how you follow it up.
Sure.
I am confident that Jalen Hurts
He's lucky, though, the defense gave him a chance to have another crack at it, though. I'll say that. But I don't want to go
so is the whole team.
Moore, man. That Kellen Moore was I thought, can you
Kellen
agree,
Moore
the play calling on third down especially was awful.
Has not evolved since his days in Dallas. He is a very tendency-driven play caller. He is a very, let's just say, likes to call a lot of the same looks. So when you can pick up on things and you're not changing the eyes of defenders, i.e. Xavier McKinney, who they're shading to A.J. Brown's side all day long, and we're not finding creative ways to put Xavier McKinney in conflict, which, take a step back to last week on the show, what was I saying was the key to getting the most out of this offense was putting Xavier McKinney in conflict. Kellen Moore has to do a better job of figuring out who the best players on the defense are and realizing, they're going to do the same thing for our offensive players, which Green Bay did a great job of today. But I, as an offensive coordinator, if I want to get the best out of my offense, I have to figure it out here. And there's countless tape now, man. This is the time where you really separate the Jimmies from the Joes. And if Kellen Moore has these aspirations to be a head coach, there's going to be questions answered over the next couple
this
weeks.
did not help his case. And I think, too,
this isn't a Nick Sirianni. The game management stuff was,
No, I thought Nick had a great game.
Nick, that's exactly, this is the
field
playoff
goal
game.
was the right thing to go for to put it up 9. Like, I thought earlier in the year he might have went
smart
for that.
stuff, Lou. Yes, exactly. I thought Nick did a really good job, especially at the end. There are just some like little things that he did in terms of time management, and I really thought he understood what this game plan was going to be and hit home that message.
No, I thought 2/3 of the coaching staff was great. It was Kellen Moore, and there was no marriage
Hey,
between
Mike
the run
Clay,
game.
man. Mike Clay,
Yeah.
too, brother. Like, he showed out with that special teams performance today.
There just was no marriage between the run game and the passing game. I didn't
There's
think...
no sequence. So,
Yeah.
I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but football really is football at the end of the day. And I know I'm nobody Joe Schmo, but when I was calling plays, it's like seeing how things are going to play out. And it always seems like we are in 3rd and longs because we didn't set up 1st and 2nd downs correctly. Yeah. And with the personnel that they have, that's the most frustrating part about it. Now, is it they can't win a championship because Jalen Hurts and the passing offense had a bad game? No, it's how do we get better from here?
I just don't get how, like, Gino, you have 3 targets to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith in the first half. When you were throwing the ball every play, it's like...
I get it.
Where are the looks for these guys to get them the football quickly? Like, the quick passing game was not there. It felt like Hurts was holding on the ball forever. Some of that's on him, too. I don't think he
Players
was seeing
not
the field
plays,
well.
and he's had those games, Lou, where it's like, oh, he's going to the guys, like the dudes. Like, he's going to A.J.
Yeah,
he's
the Pittsburgh
going...
game.
Exactly.
The plays were designed for them, whereas today it didn't feel like there were play calls really designed. And I thought Devontae Smith had a great second half, and so did Dallas Goedert. Like, those two
Dude, yeah,
combined,
what a comeback for him,
super
man.
clutch.
That run to the end zone, bro,
Yeah.
huge. And
But that first half was just, again, it didn't, the game script outside of that first drive just made little to no sense. And it felt like, though, too, I will say, and this might have been on Jalen, it felt like Kellen Moore almost started to lose faith in him because there were multiple plays on 3rd and long where you're calling up a run play to Saquon Barkley, you're calling up a draw play to Hurts. If that's going to be the play, the designs on 3rd down moving forward, I think they're in trouble. Like, obviously, Jalen has to be better, but those two on 3rd down today, it was what? They were 2 for 10 at one point.
11.
2 for 11 total. So, yeah, those two, like, they have to be
okay,
better.
I will say one thing. The 3rd and 1 where they were in tush-push
when they went for the
territory,
fake. Yeah,
that was
that.
That was a fantastic call.
I liked it.
It's 3rd and 1.
I didn't like it initially because I just wanted, high tense moment, but
yes,
I liked the logic behind it.
That's a almost you're playing with house money type of call, right? Because they're confident the tush push could be that call on 3rd down. Dude, it almost worked. I mean, a little better ball thrown out in front of them. Man, it's there. That's 6. Like that, they're cashing on that. I think that was we need more of that. Like those are the Kellen Moore spots, and he's had them, man. He's had bright spots, and then it gets back to like the basic shallow cross looks that teams have seen a ton of time. And Green Bay, who's running a bunch of zone, they're going to be able to just move their guys and sway with it. And you got guys that from the 3 high safety positions, they're just going to be able to cap everything off, which they did a great job of. And hats off to them too. Like we gotta give them their, you gotta give them their flowers. But Kellen Moore also, when is the good to great jump happening? That's when I'm not saying I don't think it can happen, but I think after this week, it's gonna be a step up next week, and you're not gonna have as many maybe opportunities and misses as you did today.
I'll defend him too. I think today his hands were tied a little bit because Jalen just was not on his game, so I don't want to totally
when the
blame
timing's
Moore.
off, it's like let's
They
not
both
put it
were
in
just
bad
off.
situations. Like
I think that was part of it. He understood the situation too, though. He's like, my quarterback's struggling. The defense is playing well. I almost need to play a more conservative kind of style right now with my play calling, and that I do get, but moving forward, that can't, like, it's 3rd and 12. I'm sorry, the QB draw, I'm not happy with that. So that has to
throw
change.
it away. Throw it. That was the Brian Johnson call right there.
But I will say, before we take another break, the offense, when it mattered most, they do have the clutch gene. Like, even in their worst games, they do step up when they need to. That drive where I think it was they're down, or they're only up 16-10. And even when they scored to make it 16, what was the score? The Dallas Goedert touchdown. It was 16-6 or 16-3. I can't remember.
It might be 7. No, it was 3 because then they scored 7.
Missed the extra point.
Yeah.
So that drive, those back-to-back drives where they got a touchdown to Dallas Goedert, the field goal, then to go up 9. Those were extremely clutch. I mean, Dallas Goedert, that screen, or not a screen, but a short play, an out route that should have been like a 3-4 yard first down conversion, turns into a 20-yard touchdown where he
Dallas,
bodies
the
that
enigma.
corner 3 different times.
The enigma. How is he that player sometimes, and then other times you're...
But that's why he's the most frustrating player in the league, because
he's
when
the enigma.
He plays,
he is the enigma for this Eagles team.
When he plays, he can be the best player on the planet
Dude,
in his position.
seriously.
4 for 47 today and a touchdown. Again, Next Gen posted something about that screen or about that touchdown. He had plus 20 yards over expected. Yeah, which is just, I mean, it's incredible. I don't have it pulled up here, but I mean, Devontae Smith 4 for 55 today. I do think the offense, when they need to be clutch, Saquon, Devontae, Goddard, the offensive line, they really did come through. So I don't think it was a total loss on offense.
No. You were never in a situation where you're like, okay, we got to throw ourselves back into this game either. You were up for a majority of the second half. You've seen the games all season long where they want to try and push the envelope and draw the clock out and let the seconds wind down, and they did that again today, and the defense was putting the offense in really good positions where they didn't have to sweat. We got great field position to start. They cashed there, took advantage of their opportunities. Now, if it was a game that got to that, sure, could things be different? But I think it really came down to the game plan. They knew that they were going to win that trench battle. That, yeah, even though they can't rush the passer, they're going to rush the passer and they're going to be tired on rundowns. And I think you saw that. I mean, they were gassed by the end of the game, man. That's exactly what happens with this Eagles team. Yeah. They're just gonna jab, knockout blow. And look, they're on to the next round because they followed their game plan. But Kellen Moore, got to be better next week.
I completely agree. We'll continue to recap the Eagles' first playoff win of the year in the wild card round, 22-10 over the Green Bay Packers. Coming up next, right here on the Locked On Eagles postgame. Today's episode of Locked On Eagles is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers, you can bet $5, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $200 back in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. If you hit the over on Saquon Barkley's rushing total today, that would have got you the win, though. Jalen Hurts, the over 1.5 passing touchdowns, he got 2 today. So, of course, if you bet with the Eagles, go with, of course, Saquon Barkley bet, Jalen Hurts touchdowns. Those normally win. But even if you lose, you're going to get that $200 in bonus bets no matter what, guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $200 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Eagles win at 22-10 in the playoffs over the Green Bay Packers. Gino, so many fun storylines to get into from, I think, both sides of the ball. I mean, Saquon just quietly with 25 carries, 119 yards, the game-sealing run. I mean, that was his seventh best performance of the year.
Walk in the park. 100-yard game is a walk in the park for Saquon these days, man.
But I really, and the defense is what I'm so juiced up about. Quinyon Mitchell, listen to this. Next Gen Stats tweeted this out during the show. The Eagles defense limited Jordan Love to 3 of 11 passing for 58 yards and 3 interceptions on passes 10-plus air yards down the field. Quinyon Mitchell, he was targeted 6 times in those situations, allowing just 2 catches for 10 yards and an interception, 1.6 average yards of separation. I mean, talk about a playoff debut for Quinyon Mitchell and just overall the entire young defense. I'm just over the moon about that performance.
Howie Roseman.
Yeah, talk about a winner
that son
today.
Of a gun out of the park, man.
Every guy that he brought in this year, this offseason, made plays.
Another meme, Lou. Him turning around, snickering like he always does when he hit.
Like Saquon today. Zack Baun with a pick. Quinyon Mitchell with a pick. Even the role players that he signed this year. Orion Burks had a forced fumble the first play of the game.
Oren, you keep adding that I to his name.
Yeah, man, it's one of those names I'm not going to get.
There's no I in team.
Orion
This
Burks.
was a Wii game. Yeah.
And then Jahan Dotson gets the first touchdown of the game. He carried on his strong play from Week 18 against the Giants. Every player that he brought in the 2024 offseason, Quinyon Mitchell as well, it just felt like they all stepped up big in the postseason. Like Howie Roseman's one of the biggest winners of this night.
The biggest winners are the young guys that there were a lot of question marks about what ifs the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And last year, those what ifs found out that they were bad. This year, those what ifs, those guys get it. And what I mean by it is Fletcher Cox is gone. Brandon Graham isn't on the field.
Yeah.
Slay's the oldest guy we got out there.
That's why this kind of win's so important for the young guys to get this kind of win specifically under their belt. I think that's really important.
They hadn't won in the wild card round in so long. in so long.
Yeah, 2018, but
I mean, they're not too great outside of that.
no,
Go back to the Green
outside
Bay.
of that, it's a very bad track record. Yeah, normally the Eagles make a deep run because they have a bye week.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And they were tougher, longer, and it wasn't the old Pro Bowlers. Yes, Slay looked incredible.
Yeah.
It was Jalen Carter, who is the young king on the defensive line.
First and second year players.
Nolan Smith, an absolute dog getting off the edge, man. Just finding out how to play at his size. Play like a freaking pit bull, man. He was a pit bull today. And all of the young guys are going nowhere. Why this feels different than that 2018 team, excuse me, is that team, they were on their last legs.
Yeah.
They were out of juice. Does it feel like this defense is
No, this
anywhere?
is the start.
They just fueled up with premium gasoline and they're ready to rip up the Lamborghini. This defense is for real. It's Howie Roseman. Well, first, it's Nick Sirianni getting Vic Fangio in here. The best hire you could have had. It's Nick Sirianni knowing what Vic Fangio wants from a personnel perspective, understanding the players he wants that will get his scheme, that will be versatile players, that can maybe be developmental, but if we let them develop, they're going to be incredible. You saw the blossoming of some incredible young football players tonight, Lou.
Yeah.
Quinyon Mitchell, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. These guys are on the radar.
And it was Nakobe Dean, too. That's what sucks about that.
Oh,
injury.
man, I feel so freaking bad, dude.
Out for the year. Or not
You gotta-
out for the year, excuse me. We don't know that yet, but carted off with a leg injury. He was out for the game is what I meant to say. I don't have an update. It doesn't look like there's anything official yet. Nakobe, though, also was seen wording the phrase, "I'm done." So I don't know if he meant for the game. The way he went down, he's on crutches after the game with a knee brace. I think he's probably done, Gino. That sucks because he has been – Zack Baun has kind of overshadowed how good Nakobe's been this year. And I thought outside of Nolan Smith in the first half, he was probably the second best player on defense in the first two quarters. So that's
yeah,
brutal.
we just talked about all of those people, and it's Zack Baun just being so good as a player you didn't expect to be that good. And now it's the standard. They have raised the standard of play, and they're holding themselves accountable to that level of play. And if this environment, this game, this atmosphere doesn't show you that these young guys get it and have figured it out, just wait till next week. Because they're going to do it again, Lou. This defense has been so consistent. Out before the bye week even, that Saints game was our first indication that they had this in them. That was the first flash we saw. And you hold the team to 10 points in a playoff game, give yourself a bow, defense. That was unbelievable.
Yep, offense going to have to be better next week. We'll see who the Eagles play. Could be Tampa Bay if they beat Washington tonight. If not, and the Commanders win, they'll play Detroit. The Eagles will play the winner of tomorrow's game, which, of course, is the Rams against the Vikings. Give me Tampa Bay, though, Gino. That's my last take is I want the Buccaneers on a platter next week at the Link.
I also just want a more, let's say, view-worthy game. Like, let's make it a little bit more fun. I love a defensive battle, but
today was
those are
definitely
like
stressful though too.
Oh, can we just cash one here? Like, can we convert a third down one time offense? Like, those are the games you're like, they're frustrating, but
yeah, Green Bay's a good defense though too. I mean, you got to give them.
Oh yeah, man.
Some
I
credit.
mean,
I thought the
Evan
offensive
Williams, shout out to him, dude.
Well, although he got away with a clear pass interference at the end of the second quarter for sure.
Throw that
But
out there, yeah.
your Oregon boys had a good day. Bo Nix, Troy Franklin had a touchdown in that first game too. So overall,
my wife
though,
goes, "Oh, Bo Nix is having his greatest day," and then Buffalo would go
Yeah,
on
that
to
was a
score
big jinx.
31 points.
But overall, the Eagles, they need to look more like a Bills offense next week. But today, it was all about the defense, and what a performance to keep the season alive. 22-10, the final score over the Green Bay Packers. Gino and I, we have 4 more shows still for you this week. Stock up, stock down tomorrow as we continue to recap this win, and then we'll move forward to the divisional round. 1 win down, 3 to go for a parade. Thanks for making Locked On Eagles your first listen and watch each and every day. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. Thanks as always for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.